What's up, everyone? This is BigPowner, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make an endgame bow for the elemental hit. This would be the best bang for the buck. It is the bow that's going to be basically a guaranteed craft. I'm going to give you guys the cheapest way to make it, a guaranteed crafting method. I would say probably max that you would wind up investing in this, it should be like 10 EX. I'd say probably the very max is like 12 EX. That would be assuming that you wind up having to do a suffix block with a scour wipe, which I think is worth it if you wind up in that situation. It might not be worth it to you. You might want to just re-roll the tier 1 attack speed, but for 2 EX, I kind of feel like I'd rather just spend the extra 2 EX and finish the bow guaranteed. But that will kind of be on you guys. I am going to let you know this video will be very informative to help you guys decide whether this is the end game bow that you want to go for or whether you want to go for one of the more expensive options. I'm going to give you guys a lot of the details as far as the strength of prefixes, suffixes in this video, which will probably help you to decide whether it's worth it to spend, 4, 5, 6 times more to have an influence bow versus what you can guaranteed make on this one for the entry level of the other ones is probably going to be around 40 EX. Realistically, I have crafted a few. I crafted one for one of the followers. He wanted something a little bit harder to make. I would not, what I made for him, I would not tell another person that I could definitely make it for under 40 EX because I've been crafting a bunch of these to kind of get a feel for them. And I've also ran numbers on them, and I got pretty lucky for him. So now that I have a realistic view on what these bows are going to cost to craft, this is going to be my recommendation for most players. The reason why is because it's something you can guaranteed get, and it's very close to being the same damage as what a bow that's going to cost you a lot more is going to be. The ones that cost a lot more are going to have benefits, but for most players, I don't think that the extra 30, 40 plus exalts are going to be the most beneficial for them because the way you should always make your build the strongest is by investing in what's going to give you the biggest bang for the buck. And as far as an end game bow, this is definitely the best bang for the buck. And the reason why is because we get 3 of the top 5 prefixes damage wise in this bow, and then we get 2 of the strongest choices for suffixes, and all for 12 EX. So this is going to be generally what I'm going to recommend for both players. You might want to see what the other videos are about. I'm breaking them up though, and the reason why is because some players are just going to have no interest in making this. They're like, I've got 200 EX to invest in a bow. I want to know how to make one of the really expensive ones. Or 50 EX, I want to make one of the guaranteed 50 EX bows. And then there's going to be a lot of players who are going to be like, no way do I, if there's a good option for 12 EX, do I want to spend 50, 60, 200. I don't even want to hear about that stuff. So I'm breaking this up. I tried to do it all as one video, and it was just way too long. And then I was like, some people aren't going to care about this one, and other people aren't going to care about that. So let's break it up. All right, so I've got examples to try and make this video as short as possible while still giving you guys as much information as possible. The base that I'm going to recommend, this is halfway into the league. We're literally, I think right now, like I'm making this video like right at the halfway point. You are going to want to get a plain non-influence 6-socket, 6-link, 30% bow. You can get these bows for under an XL. I absolutely recommend getting one of these anytime that they're available. The reason why is because the cost it's going to take you to quality it to 30% is possibly going to cost you more than the base. 6-linking it is going to cost you more than the base. White socketing all of it, you're not going to do. People do it once and then they duplicate them for a reason because it's not easy and it's expensive. So all of these things, you're getting so much value, especially in this build because we have off-color linking. It's a dex base, so it naturally is going to favor green rolls. We need 3 reds and a blue. You can do this realistically through delve coloring, but there's still cost associated with it, quite a bit. which is going to already just coloring it is going to cost more, and it doesn't look as cool as 6 white sockets. So basically everything on this bow is going to cost you more than the base. So start off with a plain non-influence 6 socket, 6 link, white 30% bow. People are nice enough to make them. They make their currency. I think they should get that currency as long as they keep them reasonably priced. I think that they become the best option, and there's no reason not to buy them from them. The next thing that we're going to do, this would be the next stage. We're just going to try to get a tier 1 attack speed on here. That's all that we want. If we have one other thing on there, we're going to just go ahead and regal as long as it's something that we can guaranteed remove. Guaranteed remove means it's a prefix or it's something with a tag that Harvest has that is not attack or speed. So we're going to bring up POEDB so we can look at these things. So why is it that our only qualification for going forward is tier 1 attack speed? The reason why is this. It's a 500 stat for tier 1 attack speed. We have 4,000 here, so it's 1 out of 8. Plus we have 5,000 right here, which makes it a 1 out of 18 chance of hitting a tier 1 attack speed if we do harvest, remove, add. Remove, add speed is really rare, and it's probably the most sought after mod, which means that if you're trying to buy it, it's really expensive. And to give you an idea of if you're trying to realistically farm it for yourself, I haven't seen 18 remove, add speeds all league, and I've done a lot of harvest farming. So it's completely unrealistic to try to do that. You're probably going to spend 5-6 exalts for each try, which puts us trying to roll it after the fact at like around 100 exalts. To do that, absolutely not worth it, because we want to make this bow for 12 EX or under, so we don't want to be spending 100 EX trying to roll on tier 1 attack speed after the fact. If you have it like mine is right here, ignore the base. This is just the base that I have for an example. We want the thicket bow base. Or spine bow. Spine bow works. If there's a 6 socket, 6 link, 30%, spine bow works. And I'll explain that reason also. I already made a video on the video that I'll give that as an example for. The reason why we wouldn't augment this right here if we have this isolated is it could possibly wind up putting something on that would make it so that we'd possibly have to start over. Say it rolls projectile speed. Like I augment it, hits projectile speed. The only way that augmenting it or regaling it works out good for us is if we hit the +1 to socketed gems, which we can guaranteed add, or the global critical strike multiplier, which we can also guaranteed add. So it's almost, it's 99.9 times out of 1,000, 999 times out of 1,000, it's a losing situation. You just want to regal it and then hope that you can remove what comes on there, which if it's anything in the prefix that you don't want, you can guaranteed remove it. Why is that? Because they all are going to have a tag that you can remove with, or you could just flat out wipe it. For the 2 EX, and that's what I was talking about. That would be the extra 2 EX over 10 EX. So the goal is basically to get the attack speed on to the attack speed by itself. If you get lucky and you have a critical strike multiplier on there when you regal it, that's awesome. That saves you a step, but that step's really easy. So let's say I hit this with the regal. It winds up changing. I wind up getting this. It has attack speed and this dual mod physical damage to attacks. Cool. It's a prefix. If it was something that I couldn't remove with Harvest, I could craft on suffixes cannot be changed for 2 EX. Uses Scour. It's wiped. Attack speeds by itself. So now we're going to pretend like I've either used Harvest to remove that mod, or I've done that wipe, and attack speeds by itself. The next thing that I want to do is I have to add another suffix, which the suffix that I want is I want critical strike multiplier, because critical strike multiplier is going to be the best damage option that we have. There's, you could go for like +2 bow arrows. This is crazy expensive, doesn't add damage. We have 5 arrows as it is. I don't think there's any more. If that's what you want to do, this craft's way, way more expensive. This is not a 12EX bow. It's now going to be really, really expensive. So the thing that we want critical strike multiplier. We can guaranteed add this with one crit augment, but then it's going to be randomly one of these. So this is where the extra cost could come in, but it's also something that you can realistically farm yourself to get tier 1 if that's what you want. Just doing remove add after the initial slam, you have 1 out of 12 chance of hitting the tier 1. The remove add crits are much cheaper than the remove add speeds, and they're way more common. It's actually realistic for you to farm 12 remove add crits on your own. And the cool thing is even once the bow is finished, we can re-roll that. So you could augment the crit multiplier. Say I get something mediocre. I'm like, oh, all right, I got 20 to 24 multiplier. That's not great, but I'm going to go and finish the bow. And then as I get the remove adds, I'll just re-roll it. And that's how you can go about it, because we're not going to have any other crit stats on there. Remove add is going to be able to be re-rolled indefinitely, even from a finished state. So that's pretty sweet. What we're going to do to give us the highest chance of getting a good multiplier is we're going to craft on the only other crit stat, which is critical strike chance. So we're going to do this right here. We're going to go to here. We're going to be like bows, crit chance. We're going to just craft on the cheapest crit chance we can get. Technically, the 2 alchemies are cheaper than the 6 alterations right now. So I crafted on the 23% critical strike chance. We're going to pretend like that physical mod is gone. I would have removed that if I was going to be finishing this bow. Then I'm just going to augment crit, which is going to guarantee give me a multiplier. So now we're going to pretend that I have tier 1 attack speed and a random one of the 6 multipliers. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add our +1 gems, which is another guaranteed thing, and it only costs us 2 EX at this point to do it. Because remember, the physical we're going to pretend now is multiplier. So we have in the suffixes, we have multiplier, tier 1 attack speed, and we have this critical strike chance. So what we're going to do then is we're going to take and change our critical strike chance to cannot roll attack mods. This right here, it's 1 EX. So we're going to pretend I did that because it would be pointless for me to actually do it because I'm not going to actually do this craft. So now what we have on this is I have physical damage to attacks, and crit multiplier, attack speed, and cannot roll attack mods. That's 3 suffixes. You have to have 3 suffixes before you do this. You have to have the cannot roll attack modifiers before you do this. What we're doing is you can only have 3 suffixes, 3 prefixes. We have our suffixes full, and one of the mods is cannot roll attack modifiers. Everything in the prefixes on a non-influence base. You cannot do this on an influence base. Everything that's on this has an attack modifier besides the +1 to socketed gems. So once you have your crit multiplier and your tier 1 attack speed and cannot roll attack modifiers, all you do is you take an exalted orb and click it onto it, and it's going to guaranteed give you the +1 to socketed gems. At this point, we'll pretend we're there now. We'll pretend that crit chance is now a +1 socketed gems. The physical is the multiplier. So we have 3 stats. 1 prefix, which is the +1 gems. 1 multiplier, 1 attack speed. So we have 1 open suffix, 2 open prefixes. So now what we're going to do, this is where most of the cost comes in. We're going to do can have multiple crafted modifiers for 2 EX. Then we're going to do socketed support gems for 2 EX. Then we're going to do elemental penetration for 1 EX. So now what we have is we have a +3 bow, 19% attack speed, crit multi, penetration. So that is an amazing end game weapon for that price. So we can add up the price. It was 5 EX for the multi-mod, the +2 socketed, and the +2 socketed, and the pen. 1 EX for the block attacks, 1 EX for the slam, that's 7. 1 EX for the base, that's 8. We can call the alteration spamming. I actually did it on the other video, actually twice. I'm not going to do it again. It just makes the video longer. We can call it about an X. We could call it 2 if you want. It shouldn't take you 500 tries to hit it. But let's say you have a bad time, and it's 10. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, the only extra cost past that would be like if you wound up in a situation where you had to do suffixes cannot be changed for 2 EX just to make it easy, and then instead of having to re-roll T1 attack speed on it, and then just wipe it. So that's your 10 to 12 EX for the finished bow. Now let's talk about the strength of it, because you might want to be like, right, but how good is that? Why would you call it an endgame, the cheapest endgame option? So what I'm playing with is I'm playing with the shaper bow, which is way harder to craft. And when we look at the pool of modifiers as far as prefixes, these are the rankings, and I'm going to explain to them why. Number 1 ranking for damage is our crafted +2 socketed supports. The reason why the +2 socketed supports, I'll bring up. So for damage, +2 socketed supports is the number 1. The reason why is because +2 socketed supports, since we're using Empower, the Empower 2 levels give 2 levels to our elemental hit. You can look through these, 20 to 21. It's at 1465. It adds like 140 damage. That's like 10% increase. It's about 1600 to 1741. About 10%. It's about 10% for each level. To make it easy, it does vary level to level, but in general, you can just think about 10% more damage. You can think about the base increase on this damage as being actually increasing your damage by that much for this reason, because we're scaling our build through percent damage, crit chance, crit multiplier, penetration, reduction to elemental resistances, stuff like that. We have no added damage in the build, so there's nothing else that's being scaled. So by increasing the base damage that we're scaling by everything else in the build, we're actually increasing our damage that much. So 20% increased damage is what we'll call that, and then it's also going to give a +2 to all of our other supports, which in general, just to make it easy, we're going to call every 2 levels to each one of the supports a 1% more damage. The reason why we call it 1% more damage is because some of them only gain increases after, 2 increases or something like that. So we'll call every 2 levels 1% increased damage to make it easy to see. We have 4 gems besides our main skill and our Empower, so 2 levels to each of those will give us 4% more damage. That rates us at 24% more damage. The second best mod is going to be our +1 to socketed gems. Why? Because it gives +1 to the main skill and +1 to the Empower, which means +2 to our main skill, which means 20% more damage there. Then we have +1 to 4 other supports, which gives us 22% more damage. Those are the top 2 things, and we have them on our weapon. What is the third best one? It is this 20% more damage, which is a shaper modifier. So ideally, our best damage, if we want best damage in the elemental hit, we would want the +1, the +2 socketed, and the socketed skills have 20% more damage. The third best option is going to be penetration, tier 1. Then it's going to be the tier 2, which is 10% penetration, which is the same percent that we crafted on. So that means we have the 2 best options as far as prefix damage, and we have the 5th best option for our 3rd option. So looking pretty good, right? As far as the suffixes, attack speed is going to be really dope. We're scaling attack speed. We have 19% attack speed versus the Shaper mod, which is 12% attack speed and 6% chance to deal double damage. This is probably going to win. The reason why is because we're losing 7% attack speed, which is like approximately 2/5 of the attack speed to gain 6% increased damage. So this does win. This is probably going to win in most builds. But they're going to be really close. Like 19% attack speed is really, really strong. As far as stuff on the suffixes, if we were doing a multi-mod like this on this, there are stronger options. I mean, like if we re-roll to get the tier 1 multiplier, this would be stronger as far as flat out damage than the dual mod because it's going to be 9% more multiplier. This gives us the advantage of power charges, which if we don't have power charge generation, that's like the base 3 power charges is 120% critical strike chance. But you're talking about both these mods are insanely harder to get than what we just did. And I explained to you how expensive rolling this would be. Imagine doing that with more mods being available because it also adds movement speed and this one, and then we don't want anything from this, which we don't have any way to block, so it gets even more expensive to try and force that on if that's what we want to go for. Same thing with this multiplier. We're able to block the critical strike chance, but then if we're going for this multiplier, then we're rolling between this multiplier and this multiplier, which this is only 1,000 stat, the tier 1's of 500, which just, even if we're blocking that, gives us a 1 out of 14 chance of hitting what we want. So a lot harder craft, you know, 1 out of 14 versus a 1 out of 6. And there's advantage to just having a flat out higher multiplier that's easier to roll versus a harder roll multiplier. If you already are going to be reaching maximum crit chance, then there's not even a point for the extra crit chance. That's the reason why that's not the focus. That's the reason why we want to go for the multiplier instead of the regular crit chance. So yeah, as far as damage, the 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 shaper bow can definitely win. Just because the third strongest option, fourth strongest option aren't available on this, but you get the two strongest options and the fifth strongest option. So for a quarter of probably the minimum price it's going to take to get a more damage just in your prefixes, you could probably do for like 30 EX. You'd probably be able to do that if we ignored the suffixes, but then it's going to make it harder for us to get the suffixes that we want because we're going to be specifically rolling for something that's hard to roll. It's a 500 stat. So if you want the strongest bow for the cost, this is definitely it. There are gains that you can get in going influence. There's utility that you can get by going influence, but the utility is the most expensive thing to add. I, I have a decent amount of experience making these because I've made bows for myself. I had one of the followers didn't know how to make it. He asked me to make it for under 40x. I was lucky. What was important to him was the chain, which I was actually really lucky to be able to make it for what I did, which was 31 EX. And I would say that that's lucky because I've been crafting quite a few of these now, and I'm trying to make a mirror tier, and in hundreds of EX of rolls, I've only seen combinations of the combination that I made for him twice. Um, One time after that, and then the one time I made for him, and then like the utility plus damage is really really hard to hit. Um, so that's the hardest thing to hit. But I'll be covering that in the shaper crafting bow section, how to get your best deal out of those, or what realistically you'll be thinking on that. But if you're looking for the best bang for the buck, absolutely this is the bow to go. If you want something that's going to be stronger, but you don't want to have this like open-ended cost, which I say open-ended cost in the shaper because it is. I can't give you spend this much and you're guaranteed to get something because there's no guaranteed crafting cost for those bows. It's all luck. You're just playing numbers. The next step up, if you wanted something stronger, would be to go for one of the +5, +6s. You already know why the gem scaling is so strong. Each level is 10% damage. Also at level 25 on your socketed on your Trinity support, when you hit level 25, there's a hidden 10% more damage on that. So it actually makes the +1 int gems viable. So you could even go for a +7, but then you'd have an empty prefix because you wouldn't be able to have a +7 and have, so you'd be losing 10% damage to gain 10%, which doesn't really make sense. It would just be a harder craft. But we could go for, if you wanted a step up that's a guaranteed craft, you could make a +6. You could make a +6 elemental hit bow. This is what it would look like, except I would change the area of effect to attack speed. Um, this is going to be like 30-40 EX crafting cost. It's easier to make than the shaper bows. The base is more expensive. 6 link, 6 socket shaper base is going to be like 5 to 10 EX for the base. This base is going to cost you probably 20 EX, but the crafting is going to actually be easier because we're still going to be able to force on that +1 socketed. So if we get safe bottom, I already did a +5, +6 guide, so if you're interested in that, I'm not going to keep on explaining on this. I did it. The only difference from the one I made one for TR. You would just craft on elemental penetration instead of percent to chaos damage over time skills. The only other thing that I would add is for the elemental hit, the +1 to intelligence gems is viable because, like I said, if you're able to get the Trinity support up to level 25, if you can reach that breaking point, it's 10% more damage. It's kind of like a hidden breaking point. And I want to point this out because if you're rolling for these and you wind up hitting it, you're going to miss out. So right here, 25, it goes from 5% to 6%, which we have 10 stacks. So 10 times 1% more is 10% more damage. So it's kind of like a hidden gem inside of that support, which you can either do by having +4 to the gem in a level 21 Trinity, or you need a +5 to the gem. So keep that in mind if you're going with gem level bows. And that's pretty much it. I hope that this guide has been helpful. I hope that you've either been like, I got currency and this was helpful, but I think I want to see what it takes to make one of those shaper bows, or you're like, for sure I'm gonna do this. This sounds like an amazing option. I'm gonna get 90% of the damage, or 80 something percent of the possible damage for quarter of the cost of the next level up. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're not already, hit the subscribe button. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like. If you got questions, leave a comment. Thanks for watching. Peace.